What's up, guys? Danny from CV Cycles. Another quick video for you. Topic of today is how many miles is too many miles on a Harley Sportster for you to be buying that bike. Now, do high miles or should high miles scare you away from buying a bike? And how many miles would you consider high miles, and at that point where you would say, probably not, look somewhere else? So, here's my thoughts on it. If it's a larger bike, the sky's the limit, okay? But we're not talking larger bikes, we're talking smaller bikes, and here's my take on it. Once you get up a little higher, 50,000 miles or so, I think on the smaller bikes, you're hitting that point where you're probably going to start having problems, okay? Now, that's not all the time, obviously, but if you're looking to buy a bike with high miles, 50,000 miles is a lot, okay? My brother-in-law, he had a 2000, I believe it was a 2000 Sportster 1200. That thing had over 50,000 miles when he sold it. The bike ran awesome. It ran so good. Strong, never left him stranded. It was a great bike. It leaked oil like a son of a bitch, okay? It had some seals that were bad. Those could have easily been fixed, but my brother-in-law didn't want to put the money into the bike. The bike was really weird. If it was cold and it was sitting in your driveway, it wouldn't drip, okay? But as soon as the bike warmed up, it would leak oil like it was crazy. It had a major oil leak. Now, a couple $100, that easily could have been fixed. Like I said, he just wasn't interested in fixing it. He only had it for a couple of years, and then he got rid of it because he lost interest in riding. He just didn't care anymore. But that bike had over 50,000 miles when he sold it, and it was still running strong. The downside to that is that if you're the seller, you're not going to get shit for money out of that bike, but the benefit to the buyers are you'll be able to buy that bike for pretty cheap. But you should be knowing that you're at that point where you're probably going to start having little things that you need to be replacing, or you're going to burn that bike up. Now, on the flip side of that, I've had a couple of Sportsters. My 04, it was a 1200 custom. As I've said in other videos, I loved that bike. It ran so good. It had a stage 1, Vance and Hines short shot pipes, mini apes. I mean, this bike was set up perfect for short rides, okay? A different seat, so the comfort was better, different shocks, everything. But that bike ran super good, like a brand new bike, except for it was carbureted, so it was a cold-blooded beast. But once it warmed up, it was awesome. That bike had 38,000 miles on it. So for some people, they wouldn't even consider buying a bike like that because it has 38,000 miles, and they consider that a lot for a motorcycle. And of course, that depends on where you live. We live up in northern Utah, so we only get to ride, 5-6 months out of the year. So 38,000 miles to somebody up here is a lot. If you live in Vegas or southern Utah or somewhere that you can ride, California, all year long, 38,000 miles is nothing. That's a few years worth of riding, okay? But on a small bike, packing tons of miles on doesn't always work out so great for you. So, anyways, that bike had 38,000 miles on it when I sold it, and I'll tell you what, it rode every bit as good as the new bikes that I've rode, other than the carbureted versus fuel injected situation, but the bike ran awesome. Rewind a little bit, before that, I had a 98 Sportster, and it was a solid mount motor. It was a 1200 originally. and somebody had put the 1350 kit in it at some point. That bike only had 32,000 miles when I sold it. I had that bike for a few years. When I sold it, it had 32,000 miles on the clock. That is, in that time frame, somebody put a 1350 kit in it. So who knows how many miles that had on it, right? I have no idea. That bike was a giant piece of shit, okay? And it didn't have that many miles. It never ran right. No matter what I did, I put 3 different gas tanks on it. I put a different carburetor on it, all new fuel lines, everything. All the time, it had problems. Always had problems. That bike was crap. Guy I sold it to had it for a couple months and burnt the dang thing up. The bike just sucked. It didn't have that many miles on it. So, should miles scare you, or should how the bike is taken care of and what's been done to it play more of a factor than the miles? The right answer for that is, I don't know. Both are important. In my opinion, if you're buying a small bike, a Sportster, anything 700 or so, any of those smaller bikes, I really would shy away for anything hitting the 50,000 mile mark. I certainly would not advise you, unless you know the previous owner and know that they meticulously took care of this bike. I wouldn't suggest buying that. I would look for something else. Hold out, have some patience. There's a million motorcycles for sale across the country. Just keep looking. That's my take. Of course, if you know somebody that had a bike that has tons of miles and they've taken super good care of it, by all means, buy that bike, because you know how it's been taken care of. But with the small bikes, that's a lot of miles once you start hitting 50,000, and depending on the price, I would say shy away. Now, if you're buying an 02, 03 Sportster, let's say you get the 100th anniversary 03 1200 Sportster, and you get that with 75,000 miles on it, but you know the guy that owned it before and he took super good care of it, and you buy that bike for $1,500, hell yes, buy that bike all day, every day. But those are certain circumstances that you're going to have to take into account when you're buying a bike. So my advice on that is, anything over $50,000, I would be, or 50,000 miles, I would be a little bit skeptical on buying on a small frame bike. Obviously, on the big bikes, the touring bikes, everything with the bigger motor, that's a different subject, and we'll make a video about that. But that's my take on the small bikes, Sportster specific. So let me know what you guys think. Give me a thumbs up if you like this. Like and subscribe. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We have a webpage, cvcycles.com. We're going to be selling bikes soon. And keep watching for that. And until next time, guys, keep it on 2 wheels. See ya.